We are back with our final devotion in Ruth, and we are sitting in chapter 4, verses 17 through 22. And right off the bat, we have Naomi holding the baby of Boaz and Ruth. And it says, and the neighbor women gave him a name, this is the baby, saying, a son has been born to Naomi. So they named him Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. I just get so excited about this part because I look at the lineage of this baby that Ruth had, this Moabite. Who came from David? Who came from the lineage of David? Jesus Christ himself. You see, this is the cherry on top that God was blessing Boaz with by redeeming Ruth and Naomi. Naomi walked away from the Lord. She was a Jewish woman, but Ruth was a complete foreigner. She was a Moabite woman, a Moabite who wasn't allowed in the temple for 10 generations per orders from the Lord. And when we look at that, we see complete restoration, complete redemption, and her actually grandfathered in to the lineage of Jesus Christ. And that is a beautiful, like the ultimate restoration right there and redemption for Ruth. Verse 18 says, now these are the generations of Perez coming from this lineage, this child. Perez fathered Hezron. Hezron fathered Ram. Ram fathered Abinadab. Abinadab fathered Nahshon. Nahshon fathered Solomon. Solomon fathered Boaz. Boaz fathered Obed. Obed fathered Jesse. Jesse fathered David. And before you go, okay, that's just a lot. Why is that always in the Bible? Well, let me tell you, generations and seeing this is important. Here's why. When we understand the genealogy of where Boaz came from, and then understanding that Boaz brought forth through a couple generations David, who brought forth in multiple generations Jesus Christ himself, here's what we see. We don't see just Ruth, who looked like a complete foreigner, somebody who shouldn't be in the genealogy of Christ. We also see Tamar, who disguised herself as a harlot to get with her father-in-law and became pregnant, which was taboo. It shouldn't have been done then and shouldn't be done now. You see Rahab, she was a true prostitute, but she still rescued out of Jericho and helped rescue men. You see Ruth, this Moabitess, this despised foreigner from the Jewish people. You see Bathsheba, who was one that slept with King David when she was a married woman herself. And you look at this genealogy that brought forth a Jesus Christ, and you have to ask yourself, was this a soiled line, or was this a line that was perfect for redemption? And my friends, I have to tell you, Jesus Christ didn't come out of this perfect scenario. He came out of lives that were continually restored. He moved, and those are the people that he chose to come through that line. And that should encourage us today, that no matter where you are in your walk with God, you are not too far gone. Just like Ruth, she was just one little pivot away from coming home and being a part of this genealogy. You see, Jesus Christ is our kinsman redeemer. That is the whole point of the story here in Ruth, that we are grandfathered in because Jesus is our kinsman redeemer. He sacrificed on our part so that we could be a part of God's kingdom for eternity. We get to partake in that beautiful redemption. This is more than just a story of God's faithfulness to Naomi and Ruth. This is a story about God's faithfulness to you and I, and that he will be faithful to his people. He will fight for redemption and restoration for us. Perhaps you can relate in the story more with Ruth. Perhaps you feel like an outsider in life, somebody who doesn't belong. I have to tell you that you are so valued, just as Ruth found her value in Boaz. God values you. You are the apple of his eye. He would do anything to redeem you because you are his child. Perhaps you can relate more with Naomi, where you have walked away from the body of believers. You have walked away from God. You once knew him. You once had an intimate relationship, but you don't feel that anymore. Just as Naomi, you are only one pivot away from coming home. And where we can, just as these women came and surrounded Naomi, we can come as a church and surround you too and say, welcome home. Welcome home. No matter where you sit, as somebody who seems like a complete outsider to the Christian faith, or somebody who may have just walked away for a period of time, there is a place for you in the redemption of Jesus Christ. There's a place for you in this family. So I think what this story says to me, if I could wrap it up in just a little bit, it would be whatever comes my way, the good, the bad, just as Naomi and Ruth experienced for themselves, I can be happy because ultimately all things work together for good. Let me say that again. All things work together for good for those that believe in Jesus Christ. Isn't that Romans 8:28 for us? And we see it played out in the life of Ruth and Naomi. And you guys, that doesn't mean some things work together for good. Well, perhaps more than not, most things work together for good, or not even majority things work together for good. The scriptures say all things work together for the good, for God is doing something in your life. You may be in the painful season just as Ruth and Naomi went through their painful seasons, but I can guarantee you that God can bring redemption, restoration to even the painful areas of life. Our story is being written in front of us, not for us to walk away from God, but for us to walk to God. You have an author of your story who is there. He is behind you in everything you do, and all we simply have to do is reach out. I hope you have gleaned something off of the lives of Ruth and Naomi as we went through these 4 chapters. They're jam-packed full of beautiful, beautiful scenarios, but ultimately Boaz is symbolic of Jesus Christ as he is our kinsman redeemer. He will always be fighting for you. He will always be there. So wherever you are only one step away from coming home. We love you guys. Thank you for joining us for the study of Ruth. I'm sure we'll be back again with another study soon.